So this is my low pressure sales process, okay? This is what it looks like. I know it's long, but it's detailed. That's why it's long. Because I want to be able to hand this to anybody and them not have to ask questions. It be so clear, right? So first off, I guess I'll start here, okay? What we're going to talk about in here relies on this, okay? To offer these two different models, all right? Now, retainer is nice, okay? Having somebody on retainer is fabulous as a baseline, but having them both together gives you more flexibility, okay? If you just had project based, then you would be struggling to make ends meet consistently. You would definitely have times where you were stressed out because your money wasn't reliable, right? Your income wasn't reliable each month, and you'd be doing a lot more work, all right? Retainers, though, it can be more work at once and then no work, right? So it can wax and wane during certain times. So the best strategy that I can recommend is to have a retainer client or two, right? To have some retainer clients and then fill in the gap with project based clients as your time allows, right? So that way, or if you need more income for whatever reason, you can take on an extra project base and that really helps fill in those gaps. And sometimes I'll take on a project just because the person needs my help and I either believe in them or what they're doing or something like that. And that's fine too, obviously. So the retainer is a flat monthly fee that's typically on the higher end because, well, I mean, that's a choice, right? It depends on how much work you think you're gonna be doing. Okay. Project based is value based. So you're going to be doing it based on situation, right? There's for the clients, there's for a retainer, there's reliable availability for new projects. So whatever if they don't necessarily have a specific role for you, right? Like you have a role and you're just kind of like loose parts, which is what I kind of started out doing while you figure out what exactly works best for you. Then you're reliably there to experiment for them. Okay. Project base is better for people who just have one-offs. All right. Because if they have a new project that they're going to potentially want you to do, there's no guarantee without being on retainer that you're going to be able to do that. Right. And that's something you want to let them know if they go that route. The proposal process for this, giving them a quote, super simple for retainer. Okay. It's like, this is my monthly fee for this. Okay. For project based, it's much more detailed because, the model that I follow, you want to give them some options, right? And that can be laborious, okay? Because you have to go into the nuances of what your work looks like together much more with a fine tooth comb. Now, I've never had this issue, but I've heard of people saying this, okay? With a retainer, value is subjective, all right? So some people might perceive the value as not worth it, okay? Because if they feel like they're not getting their money's worth, all right? But I've never had that issue. Value is clearly defined with project base. You know what you're getting, okay? So you already have committed to cause and effect. Retainer does create deeper relationships, whereas project base is means to an end. They might not be choosing you out of attachment, right? They're less likely to. It's just kind of like they have a job that needs to get done. Retainer is more flexibility for the client. That goes back to this reliable availability for projects. The project base is more flexibility for you, I think. I mean, that depends on, again, how you look at it. Some people look at project base as stressful because it's less that they're doing. And it's less reliable income, but that's a choice of view. Okay. Now, let's say you have a one-on-one booked. Let's start out there. All right. This is going to be broken up into 3 sections. It explains it right here. Okay. Stage 1 is connecting. this is where you're guiding, but you're kind of letting them take the reins a little bit as you build rapport. Stage 2 is the bridge, where it's kind of more collaborative. Stage 3 is directing, where you are consulting and you are the one who is leading the conversation more directly. So you have a one-on-one booked. You want to make sure that it's actually a good fit and you're not choosing to work with someone out of desperation. If you're just starting off, for sure, like, be extra careful about that, because if you get locked into working with somebody that's awful, then that's a pain in the butt. Okay. So when you have that one-on-one booked, right, do just a little brief research about them so you have something to go off of, right? That just means, for me, like, if they're on Alignable, just like reading their Alignable page, right? Or looking at their website or something. The first thing you want to start out with, after you say, hey, how are you, whatever, is ask them to define what their current goals and their main objective is going to be, okay? Because that's going to tell you a lot about their business, a lot about where to go from here. During these questions, right, you're gonna want to contain venting enough, right? Like, you're gonna want to kind of steer them and guide them through it. Give them enough space to vent if there's something that they're really frustrated with. But you also want to contain the time, like within the hour or half hour or however long this meeting is, right? So you need to be still guiding it. And that means making sure that they just don't go off on all these tangents, okay? You got to contain it and direct it. And that will help them feel like safe and secure working with you, because you can handle keeping things on track. So you're going to choose 2 or 3 of these questions, right? So let's say that their problem is, like, their main goal is to get a course launched, right? And so you're going to want to ask some questions. Let's say, like, what is the course about? Why don't you tell me about that? Well, why did you choose that as your course topic? All right, so how are you going about this? What do you have done so far? Those kinds of things, okay? Then you're going to simply summarize it back to them. Simplify their pain point. Let's say it's course creation, but they're struggling with structure of the course, right? Or let's say you're helping them with the software piece of it, how to actually get it virtual, right? So their pain point is maybe they're not techie at all or something like that, right? So you simplify that. Then you're going to say, hey, do I have that right? Is that correct? And then you're going to empathize. Like, that's hard. I hate that too. That sucks. That's difficult. I see that a lot, right? Connect, relate, and validate. Now, here's where we go into this bridge, okay? So it's been in their lane right now, okay? And now you gradually are going to shift over into being less guiding, more directing, all right? This is kind of this orange is going to be where you're kind of going back and forth a bit between guiding and directing, okay? You're taking control more of the conversation. You want to have like a list of stories that are relevant to what you do, because storytelling is going to be super powerful. Basically, so you want to have a story that you share that's personal and relevant to deepen this connection, so that it deepens this empathy. You're going to ask them, you're not going to tell them, this is really important, don't tell them the solution yet, okay? Ask them about how it's impacted them, or if they can tell you more about it, more details. You're going to gently want to touch base on time restraints, okay? Don't be super obvious. Don't focus on it. Just be like, ooh, yeah, like, let's say the course, right? Like, oh, I can see, like, there are people expecting it to be done by this time. Or the more money that you're pouring into it now, if you don't implement it soon, right, you're just going to keep having more and more months of paying those fees or something like that, right? Just simple, touch it. And then you're going to connect through your understanding how it had an impact on you as well, right? Like, yeah, when I did it, this is what I experienced, right? When I did it, like, I could totally see that. This was something, right, that I can relate to. And now we're going to step into that solution, right? Remember, we haven't discussed the solution to this problem yet. So you're going to, now that you've talked about the impact and touched base on some of that in the middle and made more space for like smaller talk, right, about it. I mean, it's not small, it's super impactful. I just mean like more conversational. You're going to finish telling your story by talking about the solution experience, what you did wrong, what you realized, that kind of stuff. Be really patient in this section, right? Let it flow naturally while, still being aware of the timeline. If you don't, you can lose them, right? If you jump too quickly to asking for that sale or your proposal process, you're going to lose them, okay? Discuss how your solution can be applied and relevant to their nuances. Compare and contrast it. You could be like, well, mine was similar, but it's different, and here's how, and here's what we could do instead, right? Discuss that, bring back up those time-related issues, remind them of it in a way, right? Like, I can help you get this done in that time frame that's stressful for you, right? That's what I'm here for. And then asking for the sale. You can, you have that retainer versus project fee up there. You can explain that, say, hey, I have two different options. What would be a better fit for you in this project, whether it's based on their financial ability to do it and whatnot. That way they have the option, right? Or they might just want to hire you on for a while on a retainer-based fee and say, like, I don't really know what to expect me to need from you. So why don't I do this because it's easier for me? They like to have a couple simple options. If project-based, you want to get enough details that you can create a proposal, okay? So what the things they want help with the most, and then some details of things that would be nice, right, if time and money allow. And now this proposal. Basically, you're going to tell them, I will, at the end of it, right, I will message you. I will send you an email proposal in the next bit, right, by the end of the day or whatever. And in this proposal, okay, I'm going to have 3 different price points. All right. And so these are notes for you on how to do the proposal, right? So you're going to have a low price point. That's going to be their bare minimum, right? The skeleton of what they need help with. All right. And this is only if you go with the project base. Okay. If you go with the retainer, you can skip this. This middle price point, right? And with that low price point, they might want to keep hiring you on. And that's obviously up to you and your time and freedom of that, right? This middle price point is you're really like, that's where you want to put your target ideal price. This is how much I would like to make here, right? And you want it to be more than this. Okay, you want to add in some perks, some nice balance there, but make sure that you're not undercharging because that sucks for you. And then a high price point. What are all the things that you can do to help them? And how much would that be worth? Okay. That's why this is the target price point, because this one is like, oh, that's the bare minimum. And if they really can only afford that, that's fine. But then this one is extravagant and luxurious, which really brings them back to this if they can afford it, right? Which is why you want to make that your target. Now, here's how we create kind of like urgency that's organic. All right. You don't want to be waiting around because you only have so much time. You only have so many slots for anything, right? You only have so much time and space and energy. So you just let them know, like, hey, I really have limited slots. So I really can't give you, I can check back in with you in like a few days if I haven't heard from you, but I really can only hold on to this slot in my project schedule for 3 to 5 days. All right. And if you take on less clients and you give them better service, you get paid better, there's less chaos, you're less stressed out. And all of that's ethical because it's completely true and transparent. Like, you're not full of shit. You don't have to create false urgency. Like, the sale is going to end tonight. Why? What is that? Right? Like, this is organic urgency.